to tell you about the panels we have. I'm very excited about the next panel for two reasons. It's talking about the future, the next frontier for GEXIM, investment in poultry as a catalyst for reducing the import bill. Kindly shut the doors. Kindly shut the doors. That panel discussion will have a very special context setter. Professor Kwame Jan, some of you know him as a legal luminary, but he has other dimensions he will release today. So he's, for the purposes of today, the MD of Bunta Farms, and he will do a very important context setting before Professor George Agbemabiase. Prof is with the bank, and he is going to lead a very, very important discussion about poultry as one of the anchor sectors the GEXIM wants to focus on. That panel has the following: Dr. Gloria Ethel Ofe Akoto, who's the co-founder and CEO of Ophir Gold Limited. Is Dr. Ofe Akoto here? Wonderful. We also have Divine Asiedu, MD of Papaya Fast Foods. Where is he? You should be putting your hands together for these guys who, you know, I think I've eaten papaya for like 30 years. You know, there was a time in my life I couldn't afford papaya, but now my kids eat it freely. And I tell them that they are very lucky for a company that's older than them to be feeding them. So thank you for what you do. We will look forward to hearing your story. Put your hands together for papaya. Those of you who are not from Ghana, it's one of our most respected poultry processing. They do fried rice and chicken. They don't do jollof, and they have fried chicken and grilled. Me, I like the grilled with that green thing. Nobody goes to know. They're off. It's serious, you know. When they say they want KFC, papaya and echo. Anyway, we are not spoiling anybody's business, but we need papaya in the system. We also have the founder and CEO of Yadent Group. I'm talking like this because I want you guys to bring the table. So else we do this. So Yadent Group of companies, Samuel Intim Edu, who is the founder and CEO. Where is Samuel Intim Edu? Sorry, did I miss him? Thank you, sir. We look forward to hearing your story. We're talking about investment in poultry as a catalyst for reducing the import bill, and the bank is determined to support poultry in a very meaningful way. So our three panel members will be moderated by Professor George, who will be leading that discussion. And then in the last panel, we'll look at ESG and sustainability and green finance.
Powerful lever to crowd in private capital by anchoring large-scale investments in providing partial risk participation. The bank can stimulate syndicated financing arrangements with institutions like GEXIM and Development Bank Ghana and other allied institutions. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, one of the most powerful roles the Ghana GEXIM Bank can play is to serve as the anchor institution for policy reorientation and implementation within the poultry industry. Successful poultry economies such as Cote d'Ivoire and South Africa demonstrate that transformation requires a strong coordinating institution that aligns policy, financing, and industry execution. If Ghana embraces these lessons and aligns financing, policy, and private sector innovation, we can transform poultry from an import-dependent sector into a pillar of national economic resilience. As we celebrate 10 years of Ghana GEXIM, the question before us is not whether poultry can transform Ghana's agricultural landscape. Rather, the real question is whether we are ready and collectively committed to unlock the scale of investment and coordination required to make it happen. If we do, poultry will not only reduce our import bill, it will create jobs, strengthen rural economies, conserve foreign exchange, and secure Ghana's food future. I thank you very much.
Professor Kwame Jan, thank you so much for throwing your hat into the poultry ring, and we really look forward to hearing more from you in that sector. We have 4 panelists. I missed the first one, please forgive me. William Obing is head of projects at GEXIM. William Obing, are you here? William? Where is he? Yes, William, please come up. So William is our first panel, but forgive me, I didn't see the name. Dr. Gloria Ethel Ofei Akuto, co-founder, CEO of Ophir Gold Limited. Oh, I thought you would be happy. So, Doc, since you are the only lady, sit in the middle. And then, William, yes, you can sit here. Thank you, sir. We also have David Esiedu, MD of Papaya, as mentioned. Papaya Fast Foods. How many of you have eaten papaya before? You should go and pay tithe to him. Divine Esiedu, forgive me, not Daniel. Divine Esiedu, the middle there, yeah. Divine Esiedu, MD of Papaya. And then last but not least, Samuel Intim Edu, founder, CEO of Yardens Group of Companies. Yes, sir. Our moderator is Professor George Agbemabiase. Powerful. Prof. Yeah. Prof, it's 2:25. 5 minutes to 3, you should finish. And that includes question. Because we have one more panel that will end at 3:30 because the lunch is getting cold. So let the Lord guide you in your deliberations. Amen.
Hello. Okay. Thank you very much, Senior. Bernard was my senior at Presec, and he's been an inspiration to me all this while. So, before I talk about data, permit me to do a 1-minute reflection. So, growing up, one thing I have always hated was the word agriculture. Because for me, agriculture represented punishment. Agriculture represented pain. It represented signing your poverty for life. And this was partly because of the name my parents decided to give me, George. George means fortunate farmer. And back in Burma camp, my colleagues would make fun of me, especially when people were mentioning being pilots, doctors. They connected your name to what you were likely to become in future. And so whenever I got to my turn, oh, by you'll be a farmer. And that made me lose some confidence whilst growing up, because I paid attention only to the farmer and not the fortunate. And so at a point I asked myself, did my parents really plan me? Or probably it was some quick act that led to this mistake of having me. Because as the last born of 4, why would my parents give them Selassie, Kafui, Mauli? And then when it got to my turn, you give me George to be a farmer. It didn't make sense to me. Little did I know that today I would be an advocate of youth going into agriculture, because there is gold in the soil. In the soil, there is economic empowerment. In the soil, there is hope. And that is why I am particularly happy about my CEO's commitment to revamping Ghana's poultry industry. Prof. Jan mentioned our trip to Ivory Coast, and this is going to be the benchmark for our discussion. When we got to Ivory Coast, we were met with a shocking revelation, and I want to quote. We are surprised to have you come to Ivory Coast to study how to grow poultry. Because 35 years ago, we sent a delegation to Ghana to learn about what? How to grow our poultry sector. You were the teachers, we were the students. How come 35 years on, the teacher comes back to the student to learn about this same word, poultry? Something was not right. And that is what will begin our conversation. Mr. Williams, I want to begin with you. I am aware that there's been several investments into the poultry sector. Millions, if not billions. But the result is still the same. When we went to the field, clearly the poultry farmers are losing hope. Not because they cannot provide or produce the quantities we want. But the sad truth is that they themselves, they did not know why. You have been leading projects for years. What do you think are some of the challenges? We want to start with the challenges, we diagnose the challenges, and then we come down towards the solutions in the end. What do you think are the challenges?
Thank you. I believe the good professor has enumerated quite a number of challenges. If you look at the value chain right from production right through to processing and storage, you find out that the system is not integrated. It's very fragmented right through from production. So when you look, for instance, at feed, you find out that feed prices are not stable. So you are unable to even plug that into any business model. You see now, I asked about maize. I hear up north is about 130 Ghana cedis now. But last year somewhere it was around 400. So then, for the farmers, this is a major issue, soya being the same, ditto fish meal. So if you look at that, that alone becomes a disincentive, because at a certain time you plug in a certain figure, you start work, then the figures shoot up and everything goes out of work and you lose. So that is a disincentive straight away. Now, when you look at, if you look at even broiler, now if you produce, you have to process, you have to store. And we don't have adequate storage. So once you don't have that, people go in. So we've had policy interventions in the past where people are given, they're given day olds, they're given some support from in the beginning. So everyone goes in there. Now at the end of the process, which is a very short process, maybe 6, maximum 8 weeks, you are done. And when you get there, you don't have processing, you don't have storage. So immediately in the next cycle, I mean, if you are a rational being, you won't go back into poultry. Now, one other thing which I want to talk about, and that is to do with policy. We have in this country a quota system where you can bring in poultry based on a certain chit or whatever is given to you. Now, this quota system is supposed to protect local industry. Well, it's a chicken and egg situation, but then the way it's supposed to work is that if you control the quotas coming in, it creates a demand gap. And once there's that demand, people will go in there and fill that gap. But it is for us to go through that pain of having that shortage for people to go in. That is also an issue right there. And in all the policies that we've had, there may be, they will mention a particular amount, but there's no specific budgetary allocation. There's no specific fund into which those money, there's no specific fund to support the entire chain. We as GEXIM stand ready. The import levies, the duties which are charged, for instance, on imported poultry. we could hive off part of it for GEXIM to have as a dedicated fund in our quest to make the poultry industry a very attractive industry, and also to save us all that money. When you check the literature, we're spending so much in that particular area. So there are so many things we could talk about, but I think because of time, let me leave it here. But then one other thing I would want to talk about is the human commitment, both on the part of policymakers and on the part of the farmers. We need that commitment so we can have the best laid plans, but if you don't have commitment, you'll never be successful. So.
Thank you very much. And talking about human commitment, Mr. Edu, I want to come to you. Ever since I got to know him, I've been doing some research about Yedens and then your active engagement on social media and online. That's a good thing to do, by the way. Beyond the points he has mentioned, the supply side, what do you think are some of the challenges?
Before I even answer that, I just want to add something to what William just said.
Yeah.
The problem of poultry is not primarily layer in this country.
Absolutely.
It's broiler meat.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because when you contextualize the problem, you realize that our egg per capita consumption in this country has moved from 20 to 60. That makes it 2 crates per person. So we consume 60 million eggs. 60 million crates of eggs, isn't it, in this country. That quantum of eggs, a layer in its lifetime produces an average of 200 eggs. So you need between around 9 million layers to produce the entire egg consumption in this country. And today, we have egg glut between June and September every year. And so that's why I even love this topic. What is the next frontier? Things like what Ofi about to do, and I'll leave that to him. When it comes to the broiler sector, our per capita consumption of broiler is 13 kilo per annum. Kill 0.8 birds per person. 30 million people, 240 million. Meaning this country, every day we should slaughter 900,000 birds per day. South Africa is 60, and they slaughter 22 million birds per week. Why are we not able to take a next, especially that's why I like this topic, the next frontier. For us to get it into the next frontier, first, I think that I'm coming. First is the supply side you indicated.
Yeah.
Feed forms 70% of everything we do. And so if an entity has control on commodities, on feed, on dynamics, on storage, then that person or that entity can put a step forward and drag all the other value chain points in a coherent, seamless integration to deliver what we have to deliver.
Right.
So it's about how do you understand the dynamics at Tumu, at Yendi, the soya mobilization. How do you get all those commodities together? And it's something that has to be done over time to acquire that capacity.
Absolutely. Thank you. I know there are more solutions. I will come to that in the end. So, William, you mentioned the issue of quota systems. Are you sure that given the political situation in Ghana, we can have leaders who can boldly Yes, I want to be very raw. Because from what we saw in Ivory Coast, I think Ghana, we are moving at a slower pace. We need to take the bull by the horn. Do you think that we can take this bull by the horn? Because in Ivory Coast, they have placed, taxes on every kilogram of poultry you import into the country. And if you talk to the farmers, all they say is that, look, if government had not instituted this policy, you can pump in any amount of money and the system will still fail. So for me, this is one critical decision that we need to push. Do you think we have the political will to do this?
I trust my board chair and my CEO. I believe it can be done.
Yeah.
And it's just us sticking to whatever plan we have. Because if it's policy, whoever is implementing it is guided by policy. And there must be consequences for bad behavior. If you have someone who is abusing the system, because there's a quota, there's some arrangements where he issues a check to you and then he circumvents the system. There must be consequences, because I believe if we have that, then the quota system will work. Because, mind you, the policy maker is not the one who is going to issue that quota, that check, or that authorization for you to bring in imported poultry. It's someone down the line who is going to do it. So if we crack the whip, Côte d'Ivoire, they are our siblings. It's contiguous to Ghana. Yeah. So if they've been able to do it, then absolutely we should be able to do it.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Divine, I come to you now. If there is any volunteer advocate for papaya, I think no one comes close to me. I started eating papaya right from the age of 10. From Flagstaff House, I would save my daily monies, and then on Saturday, I would walk from Flagstaff House to Osu just to go and buy papaya. And I'll eat it within 3 days. Yes, that's and then back in school, UPSA, where I taught for 16 years, the students called me papaya. I mean, whenever I started something like, okay, so for example, then they will shout, papaya. That's how addicted I am to papaya. And when I got to GEXIM Bank, I have already introduced my research team to papaya. And they're like, also cry every day papaya. Why? So that you should try their club stand. For me, it's the best in the world. So I come to you, Mr. Divine. Free advert for you. Mr. Divine, to the pool side. When we got to Ivory Coast, one thing we saw that was driving production and that gave the farmers confidence to continue producing was that they had, off-takers. They had the processing plants ready to pick whatever they produced. And when we went to Ghana, the various regions in Ghana, it was rather the opposite. At a point, one farmer was almost in tears because he ventured into broiler production, and after 7 weeks, when the cycle ended, there was nobody to purchase. We rather saw Ivory Coast having, huge trucks waiting to offload these broilers to the Ivory Coast. Why are we not able to integrate the various value chain so that, like marketers will say, you don't start from inside out, you start from outside in. So why don't you lead the way so that the farmers will also be guaranteed of purchase when they produce these broilers? Because when you produce broiler after 7 weeks, you know that it now eats into your profit. And you start losing the birds. Feeding becomes an issue. What can we do at this level? The pull effect.
Thank you first for the nice advert you've done for us, and then thank you too for inviting me. For about 42 years I've been in the poultry industry. First as a producer, and then for 30 years as a consumer. I worked with Darko Farms for about 12 years, so I know how the poultry business is done. And fortunately, I came to join Papaya about 30 years ago, and I've been buying poultry, consuming poultry looking for poultry and distributing poultry. What I realized was there was a lot of mistrust, indiscipline, and probably inconsistency. When I say mistrust, for instance, we commissioned about 25 poultry farmers, gave them inputs to supply for us. I remember, in fact, the deputy minister inaugurated this on that day. They started nicely. When it was getting to December, they all vanished. They couldn't supply us the best, even though we had commissioned them and given them inputs. They ran away to go and sell for higher prices. That's the mistrust and the indiscipline and the whatever. Dishonesty. We have this in the system. The feed miller will not mix the correct ingredients. The buyer will also find ways and means of cheating the farmer. You see, these are the things. In fact, I always tell people to do the right thing always. If all the farmers are doing the right thing always, if they are following the regulations, specifications, as is done elsewhere internationally, things would have been better. We would have bought from Ghana. In fact, immediately after that incident, we decided to import. And we had a peaceful mind. You get the chicken well packaged, international level standards, and cleaning is minimal. But if you come to the local farmer, I can remember somebody, a farm where the farmers were instructed to supply chicken at 12. At 2 o'clock, the farmer will call you and tell you that we are now we coming home. We won't accept it. You see, so these are my points. My major point here is the indiscipline in it, the mistrust, and then the dishonest behavior of farmers.
Right. Talking about mistrust, I think I want to support that because our field research work also revealed that the reason why farmers did not even want to purchase day-old chicks from Ghana was because our hatcheries were also playing smart. You produce about 200,000 day-olds, and then they only vaccinate about 60% of that. The rest, they mix them up. And so when they purchase these day-old chicks from the local hatcheries, you end up losing about 30 to 40%, which was heavy cost to these. So the mention of trust doesn't surprise me, honestly. So there will be solutions to that anyway, because in Ivory Coast we found some solutions, and we will come to that soon. Madam Gloria, you are doing some amazing work. Doc, you are helping with managing glass, for instance. I mean, in Bono areas, when eggs were not bought, I asked, so what do you do with them? If Ivory Coast does not purchase them, what do? They crush them and they bury them. That is investment gone what? Waste. But thank God we have somebody like you who is helping us to, put them into what? Future use rather than wasting them. So I want to come to you, Doc. When you talk about governance standards and trade discipline, where do you think we stand in Ghana? Is there hope?
Yes, thank you very much, and congratulations to GEXIM Bank for a remarkable 10 years. To answer your question, Ghana, there is hope. First of all, there is hope. And secondly, we will not be able to revive our poultry industry if we don't work on these disciplines. What we need to understand is that the main constraint here is not capital.
Absolutely.
It is not demand.
Absolutely.
It is structure and it is discipline. And structure is built on discipline. and discipline is what creates competitiveness. So once the discipline is weak, the whole structure comes down. So I think that, like the example you gave about Cote d'Ivoire, we need to understand that the poultry sector is two arms. We have the layer and then we have the broilers. What we need to revive the broilers might not be necessarily what we need to do in the layers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because Cote d'Ivoire is a broiler dominant poultry industry.
Yeah.
They have 2,200 farms, and 1,500 of them are broiler farms, and 700 of them are layer farms.
Great.
Now the question is where the deficit, where the deficit of the layers, where does it come from? Ghana is a layer dominant farm. How did we get here? In the year 2000, when the import of cheap chicken came in, the poultry industry did not collapse. It shifted. We moved from broilers to layers. And between 2000 to 2011, we doubled our production from 5 million to 10.9 million eggs. Now, the problem that we got there was that because there were no structures, it ended up in egg glut. We couldn't export our eggs because we were not meeting standards. Currently, Saudi Arabia banned 40 countries, including Ghana, that they were not taking any eggs or poultry from Ghana except processed or heat treatment products. So I think that when we look at our poultry sector, we look at the glass half empty, but we have a half full glass, which is that we are dominant in layers. Like in India is dominant in layers. So as we have conversations about bringing up the broilers, we need to make sure that our dominant layers do not go down. We need to start scratching, like you said, gold. Egg is liquid gold. We need to start getting what we have and making sure that we scratch from that. It is understandable that broilers is a concern because Brazil has made 9.8 billion on broilers. However, they have made a whopping 1 billion from also layers, that from the eggs. So we need to first look at traceability. We can't trace our eggs if we have fragmented farms. We need to find a way of aggregating them, putting them in cooperatives, and enforcing standards.
Very powerful points there, like we found in Ivory Coast. Aggregation, the cooperative. In Ivory Coast, every farmer must belong to an organization. And you cannot negotiate with government if you are not part of the association. And the regional associations belong to a national association. And every year you must provide data. How many chickens you have, how many day-old chicks you bought, how many of them survived. Data. You saw how you were mentioning the debate. If I should ask you about Ghana right now, Mr. Edu, I don't think you can provide me with that. Because even a working association in Ghana, we don't have. And so if we want to achieve this dream, which I believe we can easily achieve because they are not beyond us. The problem, like you said, is not poultry. It is the systems, which I believe we can put. Now we come to our final question. Solutions. If I should ask, Senior, 5 minutes. 2 minutes, we are done. If I should ask you a general, this is for everybody, right? Beyond financing. The issue is not financing, like we have all agreed. So beyond financing, if there are 4 key issues to be tackled to ensure a successful poultry industry, in order of what preference, what would they be for you, William?
I think there's a consensus here that we have an issue of discipline. So that would be a major factor. And discipline would then come with training, because to have structure, you need to be trained. You can't use the methods that your grandparents were using now. So we need to have discipline and we need to have the training. And I would say that financing, dedicated financing is very important, because so far all the policies we've had down the years, we can mention them: revitalization, rearing for food. Those are the recent ones. There have been previous ones, and all you realize that there's a policies there, but there is no underlying financing, dedicated financing to get.
All right, so financing should be the cushioning. Right, so Mr. Divine, I come to you then quickly. Then
I believe the government should subsidize the inputs.
Powerful point.
That's all.
For you, that's your key point.
Yeah.
Madam Gloria.
Okay, so I would say in order, we need processing facilities, cold
They should lead, yeah.
because we already have egg glut.
Sure.
Once you don't fix that, then the farmers are crying.
The full effect.
Then down, we need aggregation, because once we aggregate them, then we use the economies of scale to feed the factories, and then now we become profitable.
Sure.
Then the third one will be, we have to understand that poultry is a science and an art. You need to fund the act and fund the science. And the science in feed, it is feed conversion ratio.
Sure.
So
Research.
how much what's the kg of feed that will give you a kg of meat and egg?
The importance
so
of
we
research
need
there,
to
right? Yeah.
fund that feed conversion
Yeah,
ratio,
yeah.
because Brazil brought their 2.2 kg of feed to 1.3. That's remarkable.
Absolutely.
And then also genetics. If you don't get a bird that is genetically engineered, then you will not do that.
Sure.
So in that
Mr. Edu
order.
should have the final word, and then we can. Mr. Edu.
I think first is a structured model. We don't have structured model. All the 5 value chain points, from genetics, hatchery, feed, processing, should be integrated together. That is what we are teaming up with GEXIM to do with some other players in a greenfield project. That's number one. Number two, poultry is science. We need to stand on the shoulders of giants, like Socrates said, for us to see far. How do we leverage practices, knowledge from best practices in Cote d'Ivoire, in Nigeria, in South Africa? So leveraging knowledge. And finally, policy. On policy,
That's where my interest is.
on policy, monetary policy, like GEXIM is trying to do, fiscal policy. How do we slap some taxes on imports? And finally, socio-cultural policy. Just by the president saying, let's wear fugu. Yesterday, everybody was wearing fugu. By us saying, by the state saying that let everybody eat Ghana chocolate, Valentine. And so, socio-cultural policy from the tank of government is powerful. So first, structured model. 2, leveraging knowledge. And 3, driving policy from monetary, socio-cultural, and physical.
Thank you very much. This has been a very insightful discussion, and my parting word, this is to all of us. For every kilogram of imported chicken you eat, always remember, it is a job you are exporting to somebody else in another country. It is your local businesses you are killing, and it is your inflation you are what? Increasing. Let us all support this all-important policy, and let's grow our poultry industry in Ghana. There is hope for this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Professor George Agwemebiase, with your very, very exciting panel. We'll take a quick photograph. Please step forward. We have some souvenirs for you. We thank you so much. We couldn't take questions because the time allotted did not permit this. We will be taking our final panel discussion shortly, right after we are done with the photos. Dr. Abena Sumini be getting ready with your panel, but we'd like to thank William Obing, Head of Projects GEXIM, Dr. Gloria Ofei Akoto, co-founder of Ophir Gold, Divine Asiedu, MD of Papai